Now, a war of words has erupted between the ANC in the Eastern Cape and the Office of the Public Protector, Busisiwe Mkhwebane. Mkhwebane has hit back at claims that she timed the release of a report to sabotage the ANC ahead of the municipal elections. The recent report found that ANC Eastern Cape Premier Oscar Mabuyane and the MEC for Public Works, Babalo Madikizela, unduly benefited from funds intended for a memorial service for Winnie Madikizela Mandela. The funds were transferred from the Eastern Cape government to the Mbizana Local Municipality, intended to help fund transport to the memorial. Mabuyane allegedly received 450,000 rand of the money for the memorial, and that was used to pay for upgrades to his home in East London. In a statement, the Eastern Cape ANC, however, alleges that Mkhwebane timed the release to coincide with the run-up to the polls scheduled for November the 1st. At the same time, the Public Protector has found the appointment of several senior staff at Metrorail in the Western Cape irregular, and it's recommended steps be taken to declare salaries paid to them as irregular expenditure. To discuss all of these, we're joined by the spokesperson for the Public Protector, Oupa Segalwe. Mr. Segalwe, thank you for being with us. Firstly, does the timing of this report relating to the Eastern Cape Premier, of course, have anything to do with factionalism, as the ANC claims?
Good afternoon, Francis, and good afternoon to your viewers as well. There is absolutely no merit to the claims that the Public Protector has timed the release of this particular report to coincide with the ANC's election campaign. The Public Protector is, in terms of the Constitution, enjoined to perform her functions without fear, favour or prejudice, and to act impartially and independently. And that is exactly what the office is doing. We do not allow external events or circumstances to influence how we do our work. But beyond that, you would know that in terms of Section 7, subsection 9 of the Public Protector Act, once the Public Protector contemplates adverse findings against anyone, the law requires her to bring that information to the attention of those implicated for purposes of soliciting their responses or submissions or representations to those contemplated findings. And in this regard, we received responses to those potential findings as late as July this year. And on receipt of such submissions, the investigation team begins a lengthy process of studying and analyzing the information, and then conducting legal research and drafting the report and subjecting it to a number of quality assurance processes. That work takes quite a long time, and we concluded that work at the end of September, which was the time during which we were supposed to hold our end of quarter media briefing to release the findings into various matters. That investigation, for instance, it was one of 8 that were concluded, and the reports thereof were released at the beginning of this month.
So the ANC in the province says it's unfortunate that the report is released on the verge of the elections when it was finalised 2 months ago. So you're saying, in fact, it wasn't finalised. You did mention that you even received responses from those implicated in July, but you're saying that it took a lot more time to dot the I's and cross the T's, and that is how it works.
That is correct. I suspect that when they say 2 months ago, they are referring to the dates on which they submitted, or those implicated submitted their submissions. But just because you submitted today doesn't mean the report is ready tomorrow. All those processes that I've just alluded to must still take place so that whatever document we come out with can stand up to legal scrutiny.
The Premier, Oscar Mabuyane, disagreed with what you said earlier, that the Public Protector always acts fairly and impartially. He says her conduct has been wanting, and he's taking this to the courts. There have been several reports overturned in the courts. Are you worried?
Not at all. We have compelling evidence that we have relied on to arrive at all of those findings that those implicated are questioning. For instance, we have records from the banks for all the transactions that took place. We have records of email exchanges between some of the key players in this whole debacle. We have sworn affidavits from a number of witnesses, and we also have records from the CPIC, which registers companies' trademarks and so forth. But we also have notifications for payments that we say were made as part of all of those transactions. So we are confident that if anyone wants the court to review and set aside the report, they will not be successful.
All right, we'll follow how that plays out in court. Thank you. Then on a different matter, the findings around PRASA, the Passenger Rail Agency, and Metrorail are quite extensive around irregular promotions or appointments, apparently all at the time of one provincial regional manager. I think that was in the Western Cape, SWAT. Does it all point to SWAT? And what happens in this case? What is the remedial action that is binding? What do you want to see from PRASA and Metrorail?
This problem is quite widespread across the public service. Every time the public protector issues reports, you find that one or two of those reports have to do with irregular appointment of staff. Now, in this case, the public protector found that Metrorail, being a subsidiary of PRASA, appointed quite a number of employees without following the company's own recruitment and selection policy. For instance, you would find that in terms of the job advertisement that would have been put out there, those that were eventually appointed did not meet the requirements as specified in the advert. It's either they do not have the requisite qualification, or they have a qualification which has absolutely nothing to do with the job at hand. In some instances, it was the question of irregular appointment of people into acting positions where the policy provides that you cannot act in a position for a period longer than 3 months. And you see that those who were appointed spent more than 3 months on those positions. Yeah. And to remedy that maladministration and improper conduct, the public protector has directed the Group Chief Executive Officer of PRASA to approach a court with a view to having some of those appointments judicially reviewed, because the courts have been quite unambiguous in terms of what should happen when someone has been appointed irregular. They cannot just be fired. The court must be brought in to review and set aside the appointment.
Mr. Segalwe, we're running out of time. In half a minute, if you don't mind. I did see that this was based on an anonymous complaint laid years ago. Is that all you had to work with? And does this show that anonymous complaints, whistleblowing, can in fact lead to findings and action down the line?
Correct. In fact, we advise and encourage people who fear that they may suffer some sort of a backlash in the event they are found out, to lodge their complaints anonymously. And from our end, we will protect them. We will not reveal their identity. What is important is to get to the bottom of maladministration and root out corruption, so that resources and public funds may be used for what they were intended to.
All right, thank you very much for your time tonight. Spokesperson for the Public Protector, Oupa Segalwe.